outside my door. Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes, I can see it in your smile. You're all I've ever wanted, and my arms are open wide. 'Cause you know just what to say, and you know just what to do. And I want to tell you so much, I love you. I long to see the sunlight in your hair and tell you time and time again how much I care. Sometimes I feel my heart will overflow. Hello, I've just got to let you know, 'cause I wonder where you are, and I wonder what you do. Are you somewhere feeling lonely, or is someone loving you? Tell me how to win your heart, for I haven't got a clue. But let me start by saying I love you.
Body,
lights are still. You can best believe that he's a macho man. He's a special person in anybody's land. Hey, 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 hey. Macho, macho, macho man, yeah. I got to be a macho man. I got to be a macho, 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 yeah. I got to be a macho. Take the hair on my chest, macho, yeah. Macho man. I say take my big, big mustache.
gentlemen, please welcome the next President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump.
And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea, from Detroit down to Houston and New York to LA, where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Waterloo, thank you very much. It's great to be here, and a lot of people outside, a lot of people outside. We want to stay right here, and I want to thank you very much. This is an honor. We cover all corners of your great state, you know that. And they said, Waterloo, what about Waterloo? I said, we got to get to Waterloo. So here we are. And I'm thrilled to be back in your incredible state with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. Let me begin by wishing you all a very Merry Christmas. Do you remember? Do you remember about 7 years ago I came, I said, they're going to be saying Merry Christmas again, because department stores, of course, they have other problems now. They're being robbed. The department stores right now, they have very big problems. 400 or 500 people run into them, grab everything, run out, nothing happens because our law enforcement's not allowed to do their job. They're great, they're not allowed to do their job. So they have other problems too, but they say Merry Christmas now at least. And it's very important. That was a big deal, and now nobody even thinks about it. We say Merry Christmas. I'm honored by that. We're just 27 days away from Iowa's first in the nation. Thank you very much, President Trump, because you're first in the nation because I said you were first in the nation. It's very simple. And the caucuses are a big deal. On Monday, January 15th, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses, and then we're going to crush crooked Joe Biden next November. And we're going to, very simply, make America great again. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor. I want to thank a very special person. She stepped up very early and very strong, and she's highly respected. I think she's probably your most, we have to call everyone a politician, I guess, if you run for office. I think she's probably your most popular politician right now in Iowa. Brenna Bird, your Attorney General. Thank you, Brenna. Thank you, darling. She's been incredible. A man who endorsed me before I was even running. I said, who's this guy from Iowa that keeps talking about Trump? And he's I call him the Marlboro Man. He's a handsome guy. State Senator Brad Zahn. Brad, where's Brad? Thank you, Brad. Thank you very much. He's been great. He really, he was endorsing me before I ran. I said, who is that guy? But he was probably the first one in the whole country. State Representatives, Bobby Kaufman, who's fantastic, by the way. And his father's fantastic, too. Derek Wolf, Craig Johnson, and, of course, Iowa GOP Chairman Jeff Kaufman. There's a slight relationship there. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, and a great job, and it's fantastic to be with you. We'll be back a few more times, believe it or not. We have that big day coming up. We'll be back. We got to be sure that we put this thing away. The poll numbers are scary because we're leading by so much. The key is you have to get out and vote because, you know, I tell it all the time, if you don't get out and vote, we can put this to bed after Iowa, if you want to know the truth. We can put it to bed for them, too. They can go home and forget it. But you have to go out. Don't sit home and say, you know, I think we'll take it easy, darling. It's a wonderful day, beautiful. Let's just take it easy, watch television, and watch the results now because crazy things can happen. You got to get out. This is really important. Our country's at stake. We have a country that's never been in trouble like it is right now. So get out and vote, whether we're leading in the polls or not leading in the polls. And in this case, we're leading by 30 to 40 points, I guess. But we got to win. Maybe we can win by more than that. Because, you know, if we win in a massive number, but it's a little bit less than that, they'll say, oh, he didn't meet expectations. It was because they're fake news. We know that, you know. They're fake news. They are the biggest fakers in the world. During this holiday season, families all across America are struggling under the brutal weight of Crooked Joe's failures, disasters, heartless betrayals, and inflation. While the stock market is making rich people richer, and I mean, it's crazy what's going on. Rich people are getting richer. Of course, I'm a politician now, so we just keep chugging along, right? But you're going to have a crash the likes of which you haven't seen because of what they're doing. It's going to be scary. Biden's inflation catastrophe is demolishing your savings and ravaging your dreams. His sky-high energy prices, the highest we've ever had, are brutalizing your wallets. Our border has been erased. Criminals are running wild in our Democrat-run cities. And thanks to Crooked Joe's breathtaking weakness, the world is going up in flames. The whole world is up in flames. You didn't have any of this stuff when I was president. I'd call and I'd say, you can't do that to the head of a country. And they wouldn't do it. And Russia would have never done it. And Hamas would never have done it because Iran wouldn't have given them the money or had the money to do it. No, it's very terrible what's going on. Hard to believe, actually. Joe Biden and the Democrat Party are incapable of solving any problems. Crooked Joe Biden is a low IQ individual. He is truly the worst, most incompetent, and most corrupt president in the history of our country. Other than that, I think quite a bit of him. Can you believe what's going on in our country? Can you believe what's going on with the border? You watch, and the fake news doesn't want to show it too much, certain of them. And I will tell you what's going on in our border. They're coming in by the millions, and we have no idea who they are. They're coming from all over the world. But with your vote this election together, we're going to save America, and we're going to bring our country back from hell. Our country's been in hell. Not one thing has gotten better under Crooked Joe Biden. Under the Trump administration, you were better off, your family was better off, your neighbors were better off, and our country was better off. And you're also much safer when you had me behind the desk of the Oval Office. You were better off 5 years ago. Think of it. Just ask yourself, were you better off 5 years ago? Or are you better off today with the inflation, with bacon that costs you 4 times higher than you would have had to pay a little while ago? It's going up. Nobody's ever said anything like it. But what a difference a president makes. A president makes a big difference. Since Joe Biden took over, we've had a 3-year inflation rate of over 20%. Under my leadership, inflation was non-existent, and we had gasoline at $1.87 a gallon. After 3 years of Bidenomics, the average monthly mortgage has gone from $1,700 under my administration to $3,400 under this terrible administration. As long as Joe Biden is in the White House, the American dream is dead. It's dead. There is no American dream. But all of that will change the minute the polls close on election night 2024. It's going to all change. The next economic boom will begin the instant the world knows that crooked Joe Biden is gone and Donald J. Trump and us, all of us together, have won 4 more years as President of the United States. It's a very important thing because our country is really, it's a disaster. It's not even believable what's happened to our country in a period of 3 years. Powered by the momentum of our historic victory, by Christmas of next year, that's a couple of months later, by Christmas of next year, the economy will be roaring back, energy prices will be plummeting, the hordes of people charging across our border will have totally ended, the invasion will have stopped. And I heard somebody today say, one of these genius analysts, the stock market's good, the rich get richer, but the stock market's good because they think Trump is going to win the election. And I believe that's true. And whatever good they have right now is the fumes of what we left them. It's coming off the fumes of what we've left them. But the stock market is good because a lot of people think we're going to win the election. So that's an interesting fact. I felt that, but I didn't want to say it. But I think we will say it. Because just like 3 years ago, they will know that I will catch. And when you have people that are pouring across the border at levels like no country has ever seen, not us, no country has ever seen, third world nations have never seen. They'd stop them with sticks and stones, I say. But they'll know that I'll catch them and we'll send them home and the entire world will be safer and more peaceful because everyone will know that the days of Biden surrenders are over. So many mistakes. There's been nothing good that's happened. Nothing good. What good has happened in the last 3 years? Our country's gone to hell. As soon as I get back in the Oval Office, I'll also immediately end the war on Christians. I don't know if you feel it. If you have a war, there's a war. Under crooked Joe Biden, Christians and Americans of faith are being persecuted, and government has been weaponized against religion like never before, and also presidents like never before. Here I am. I always say Al Capone was treated better than I was treated. Scarface, Al Capone, he was a tough one. Biden and his corrupt Department of Injustice have sent SWAT teams to arrest pro-life activists. They've targeted conservative parents at school board meetings who don't want filth taught to their children. It's filth. What they're teaching in schools is filth and nonsense, and we can't let that happen. But they're being targeted. And now the communists, Marxists, and fascists are going hard after Catholics, even plotting to send spies into Catholic churches. It's all come out, just like in the Soviet Union from days gone by. Now think of it. If you're Catholic, why would you vote for a Democrat? What they're doing to Catholics, I don't know what's going on with the Catholics, but they're really being persecuted. Why would you vote for Biden, and why would you vote for a Democrat? A new report from the House Judiciary Committee proves that the Biden FBI actually targeted Catholics as potential domestic terrorists. Do you believe this? And, you know, evangelicals will not be far behind, because when that starts, it starts happening on a very major scale. When I'm back in the White House, never again will your government be used to target Christians and other religious believers. Upon taking office, I will create a new federal task force on fighting anti-Christian bias to be led by a fully reformed Department of Justice that's fair and equitable. Its mission will be to investigate all forms of illegal discrimination, harassment, and persecution against Christians in America. They are going after Christians in America. Who's can believe all this stuff? It's not believable, is it? But it is fact. It's just like so many of the other things when I stand up and I say that we will stop, and I've said it, we will stop men from participating in women's sports. I mean, the whole thing that you have, no, but things that you say that you can't believe you're up here and saying it. We are for parental rights. You have to say that. No, think of it. We are for parental rights. Who believes that 10 years ago, 15 years ago, who would ever have to say a thing like that? We're for parental rights. Of course we're for parental rights. But the Democrats aren't. They're fascists. They're not. They want school boards. They want people to take your children and do things with your children that are not even speakable. Americans of faith are not a threat to our country. Americans of faith are the soul of our country, and they have been from the beginning. I will defend religion, and I will defend In God We Trust. We will defend In God We Trust, which is... And you know that very important phrase is under siege. You do know that, right? We will defend it 100%. When Joe Biden lit the national Christmas tree earlier this month, he completely failed to even mention the birth of Jesus Christ, which is hard to do if you're celebrating Christmas, right? He didn't mention Jesus Christ in his remarks. Not for 3 years he hasn't mentioned that, and barely mentioned God. When I was president, we brought back the beautiful phrase, Merry Christmas, and I said I'd do that. I'm very proud of that, actually, because as I said at the beginning, it was really under siege. And when I lit the Christmas tree each year, it was my honor to publicly celebrate the true source of Christmas joy, which is Jesus Christ. As president, I kept every promise I made to Christians and more, and I think everybody in this room understands that very well. That's pretty well documented. In our first 4 years, we appointed nearly 300 federal judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices. I stood up for religious liberty at home and all around the world. I protected innocent life, and I defended the Judeo-Christian values of our nation's founding. I proudly recognized Israel's eternal capital and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, which is a big thing. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And, they were looking to get that for 72 years. They'd fly in, they'd fly out, they'd fly in, every year they'd fly in, they'd discuss it, they'd fly out. And I got it done in about 12 minutes. We got it done very quickly. And with the historic Abraham Accords, I even made peace in the Middle East. Unfortunately, they haven't taken it any further. It should have been taken. We could have had everybody signed up. It's no wonder crooked Joe Biden and the far-left lunatics are desperate to stop us by any means necessary. They are willing to violate the U.S. Constitution at levels never seen before in order to win this election. Joe Biden is a threat to democracy. It's a threat. They're weaponizing law enforcement for high-level election interference because we're beating them so badly in the polls. The new CBS poll, remember I always used to talk about polls, but only if they were good. I don't mention them if they were bad. I had a tendency if they were bad, I didn't talk about them, right? I don't know. That's probably sort of like a little bit like the fake news would do, so I feel very embarrassed by it. But the new CBS poll just out has us at 58% in the state, with the sanctimonious 40 points behind us, 40 points. The new Morning Consult poll, that's in your state. The Consult poll has us at 66% nationwide, with DeSantis at 11% and Haley at 11%. And then they said, Haley is surging because she went from 9 to 11. I went up 7 points. She went up 2 points. And it's harder to go up 7 when you're almost at the top. There's not that many points left. So I went up 7, she went up 2, and the headline was, Haley is surging because she caught the sanctimonious. The Fox poll has us trouncing the primary field at 69%, with DeSantis at 13% and Haley at 9%. And, it's sort of interesting. He did an interview the other day, and the announcer, this was sort of a straight interview at a major network. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor to have Governor Ron DeSantis with us. No, it's DeSantis. So that's good branding. Do you agree? That's good. Nah, but he is sanctimonious. In the new Rasmussen poll of the general election, we're dominating by 10, 11, 12, even 14 points. And the Washington Post had it up 11. And then they said, this must be an outlier. They spend $1.5 million on a poll, the Washington Post, and they panic. They say this must be an outlier. This is the first time anyone ever had a poll, and they said, we think our poll must be wrong, but we have even better numbers than that. No, they're going crazy. But none of this matters if you don't show up to support us on January 15th and again on November 5th. So it's, again, the same thing. You got to show up. Even if you think we're going to win by a lot, you got to show up, because winning by a lot is very meaningful, even as countries watch from afar, because we would never have any of these problems if I were president. But when they see the kind of support that we have incredible support. We have more support than we did in 2020 or 2016, and we did great. We won 2016, and then we did even better by a lot, by millions and millions of votes in 2020. It was a rigged election. The radical left Democrats rigged the presidential election of 2020, and we're not going to allow them to rig the presidential election of 2024. We're not going to allow it. Every time the radical left Democrats, Marxists, communists, and fascists indict me, I consider it actually a great badge of honor. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Because I'm being indicted for you. Never forget, our enemies want to take away my freedom, because I will never let them take away your freedom. It's very simple. I'm not going to let them do it. They want to silence me, because I will never let them silence you. And in the end, they're not after me, they're after you. I just happen to be standing in their way, and I always will stand in their way. And, you know, I've been saying this a lot lately, because I see the kind of crowds. We go up to these large areas. We come out to the rural areas. No matter where we go, we have packed houses, some of them. We filled up an arena last time, a massive arena. We had thousands of people outside, couldn't get in. Brad was there, he couldn't get in. He got in. We almost said, keep him out. Let's keep him out, right? No, he's always going to be invited. This is far more than a campaign. This is the greatest political movement in the history of our country. That's what it is. This is a great political movement. This is not just a campaign. And together we will once again fight for Iowa families and Iowa farmers, just as we did 4 straight years. We fought for you. We've done more for the state of Iowa than any president ever in history. There's never been because when you add it all up, what we've done, unlike Crooked Joe, who wants to dramatically increase the estate tax, or the death tax as they call it, I virtually eliminated the unfair death tax, saving countless farms and families of farmers. They love their children. They leave their farm to the children. And the tax was so incredible that the children would often have to file bankruptcy because they had to go borrow money to pay the estate tax or the death tax. And I eliminated that tax. So now you can leave. If you love your children, if you don't love your children, then I haven't done that much for you. But some people love their children. Does everybody in this room love their children? I do. Does anybody in this room not love their children? Raise your hand. Oh, that guy in the blue jacket raises his hand. But no, it's very important because people were going to the heirs. You know, you inherit a farm, you have a 40, 50% tax to pay, and they fight with you over the tax, and they end up going to the bankers. The banks have been so bad, not the local bank. Some of these big banks have been horrible people running them. But, you know, the banks, they loan the money and they end up taking over the farm. We're not doing that. So we ended the estate tax, and farms and small businesses now, they don't have to go into hock and end up losing everything. And the parents are very happy about that. They're looking down and they're saying, I'm so happy. I love President Trump, because that was a big thing. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made, and replaced it with the USMCA, the best trade deal ever made. And that was a giant win for Iowa farmers. I took on the communist Chinese like no administration in history. Communist China was doing a number on the farmers, and you know it better than anybody, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars pouring into our treasury when no other president had gotten 10 cents from China. Nobody had ever brought in any money. I brought in hundreds of billions of dollars from China. In fact, China is not now doing very well, and a lot of people think it was because of what I did with respect to all of the hundreds of billions I brought in. And Biden is unable to cancel it because it's so much money that it's having a hard time canceling. It's hard to say, oh, gee, let's not do that for hundreds of billions of dollars. And then I gave the farmers $28 billion straight out of the tariffs I took in from China, a large part of which came right back to the state of Iowa, right? That's why my people in the back, you know, my great geniuses, sir, please don't say that too often because you sound very conceited when you say that you guarantee that Iowa is going to vote for you. You guarantee Iowa. I said, I got him $28 billion, of course. Who else is going to get him $28 billion? I said, go out and buy more land and larger tractors. Do you remember that? But you know what? They stuck with me because we had a period of 6 or 7 months with China. You know, they're great negotiators. They were playing hardball, but we ended up winning, and they buy now. We made a trade deal with China. I don't even talk about it because of COVID, but we made one of the greatest trade deals ever made. They buy $50 billion worth of product from this country, and they were buying nothing before that. They were buying nothing. So it was an amazing thing that happened, and it's an honor to have done it. And I do believe I could say that, but I won't say it because I will not say that because my people have said. So I will not guarantee it, but I pretty much guarantee it, okay? Let's vote against Trump because he gave us $28 billion. I don't know. Somehow they got a problem with that one, don't they? Huh? The people that are running against us and who, frankly, were not in favor of farmers. You know, Ron DeSanctimonious was not a friend of the farmer. He fought against the Farm Bill. He fought against ethanol hard, very hard. Now all of a sudden he loves ethanol. About 2 weeks ago it started, right? No one gets abused on trade worse than American agriculture, yet no other president lifted a finger for you. Nobody lifted a finger for you in Iowa, nobody. Under my leadership, we will have a great rebirth of loyalty to the American farmer and loyalty to the American flag. And I'm going to pass something that's so important. We were just about set to do that. We had the greatest economy in history. We were just about set, and then we hit COVID. COVID came, a gift from China, from Wuhan. I told them it came from the Wuhan lab. I said it right from the beginning. I never changed. Trump, you ever see the hats? Trump was right about everything. Some of the things I don't want to be right about, like I think our country's in more danger now for World War III than ever before. I don't want to be right about that. But we have a man who's grossly incompetent, and he's talking about nuclear weapons and negotiations. He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking. He can't even find the stairs to get off a stage. All right? There they are. There they are. They're all over the place. Jump off the front, but don't walk into the back wall. You ever see that? He finishes a speech, if you call it that. He did a news conference the other day, and he goes, okay, let's see. You know, I did news conferences in the White House. You. He did Jim Jones of NBC. Oh, is he here? Oh. The guy says, Mr. President, what about this? What about that? What about that? I would like to tell you the following. He's reading the answer, meaning he knows the questions, and they write down the answer. He reads the answer. If I ever did that, they would impeach me a third time, right? They would impeach me a third. We beat them twice. You know, the impeachment, then they found out I was right. They're all saying we really shouldn't have impeached him. But actually, the Republicans, and Jim Jordan's great, and Jamie is doing a great job, but the Republicans are being much nicer because they're saying, let's do an inquiry first. They didn't do an inquiry with me. I walk in, they impeached me. So these are bad people, bad people. I will pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act. So that means if China or any other country make us pay a 100% or 200% tariff, which they do, we will make them pay a reciprocal tariff, identical tariff of 100 or 200% right back. We'll take in billions and billions. Now, what will happen is they'll end the tax. You know, they'll end the tax. But we're all set to get that. We would have had that quickly. I will revoke China's most favored nation trade status, and we will impose stiff penalties on China and other trade abusers because they abuse us. But many people abuse us on trade and even the military. At the same time, I will end Joe Biden's war on American energy, and we will, ready? Drill, baby, drill. We will drill. We'll put straws in the ground and we'll have oil coming up. We have more oil than anybody, oil and gas. We have more than any other country in the world. And, you know, we took it from 4th place to 1st place in just a short period of time. We were going to make so much money. We were making so much. We were energy independent. Think of that. Gas prices, oil prices down so low. Record numbers in some cases, but down so low. And we were going to sell it all over the world, fill up our strategic reserve, which I was doing very cheaply by comparison to what they're doing now. He used the money just to have a better election. He used a lot of the money. It's drained. It's the lowest point it's ever been right now. That's meant for military. That's meant for real problems, not to keep your gasoline price down so that you can get some votes during an election. But they brought it down to the lowest level in order to try and remain relevant for an election. It's very terrible what they've done. They've done a lot of bad things. As part of our common sense energy policies, I will once again stand up for Iowa ethanol like I have done. I've been your savior. Many people did not want anybody to stand up for it. I just promised as president, I issued a historic rule declaring that E15 would be made available all year round. You know what that means. I did it all year. It was 8 months, and I did it all year round. Nobody thought that was going to happen, and letting them use the existing pumps. Now, that doesn't sound very glamorous, but it was hundreds of millions of dollars would have had to be spent. That would have been an increase in price to you. And I let them use the existing pumps. Very simple. I brought in experts. I said, well, what's the difference? They said, well, sir, the old ones are actually better. I know that because a lot of times equipment is much better. The older equipment's a lot better than the new equipment. And like grass cutters. All you have in a grass cutter today is environmental computers and equipment. They forgot to put blades on it to cut the grass. So sometimes you'd rather have like a blade. Give me a blade to cut the grass. In contrast to my unwavering support for Iowa ethanol and agriculture, Ron DeSanctimonious wants to literally bankrupt Iowa farmers. That's what he'd do because his policies are horrible. DeSantis spent his entire political career vindictively trying to kill the ethanol industry, voting again and again to devastate Iowa farmers by eliminating the billions of dollars generated each year from ethanol and wiping out 48,000 Iowa jobs. He voted against it. Unlike DeSantis, I will be your ethanol champion for 4 more years. You have 4 more years of security. And I will also rescue the ethanol industry by canceling crooked Joe Biden's insane ethanol-killing electric vehicle mandate on day 1. Everything has to be electric. Electric cars, they don't go far. They cost too much. They're all going to be made in China. The United Auto Workers are going to all be voting for Trump because this mandate's going to kill all jobs, all jobs. They've lost so many now to Mexico. 32% went to Mexico. Many went to Canada, and the rest went to China. Whatever we have left, it's peanuts compared to what it should have been. But this electric car thing is just crazy. If you want to drive, maybe, let's say you're here, if you say, let's take a drive to beautiful, safe Chicago. It's so safe. Let's drive there. How many times would you have to stop? About 9? You know, it's just crazy. It's these people, and they know it. They know it's crazy. They don't want to even listen to people. Same thing with the trucking industry. They want to have electric trucks. So a truck, a big, beautiful truck like Peterbilt or one of them, they can go, the big ones, they can go 18-wheelers. They can go about 2,000 miles, they say, 2,000, on a big tank of diesel. And an electric truck comparable, which you can't be comparable because you need so much room for the battery. Most of the area that you're going to carry your goods going to be battery. But assuming we take away that problem, which is not easy to take away, you'd have to stop approximately 7 times to go 2,000 miles, right? You go about 300 miles, and they don't want to change that. You'd think after if I were sitting there and that was explained to me and verified, I would say, of course you're not going to do that. We'll destroy our supply chain. But the Attorney General would agree with me. I mean, you don't have to be a great expert to know. You can't do that. One goes 2,000 miles and the other one goes 300 miles, and you don't have any capacity because half of it's got to be for battery. The batteries are massive. Crooked Joe puts China first. He puts Asia first, Ukraine first, illegal aliens first, environmental maniacs first. He puts everyone first, but he puts America last. He puts Iowa last. He puts our workers last. He puts our farmers last, and he puts everything that's good last. And by the way, they abandoned Iowa. You saw that, right? They left Iowa. I don't think he's going to do too well here. You know, they used to be together with them, but they've gone now to another state, good state also, by the way, but they've gone. They've left a tradition. I said, we're never going to do that. We're never going to do that to Iowa. You know, it's got a great political tradition, and I kept Iowa first. That was me. I put Iowa first, and I will put America first every single time I put our country first. So job number one when we return to the White House will be to restore peace through strength. Peace through strength. For 4 straight years, I kept America safe. I kept Israel safe. I kept Ukraine safe. There was no talk of this. And I kept the entire world safe. A great gentleman, Viktor Orban, Hungary. He's the leader. He's the boss. He's everything you want to call him. He's a tough guy. He's tough, very well. I mean, he knows Russia very well. He knows Ukraine very well. They were saying, what do you think is going on with the world? He said, what's going on with the world is Trump isn't there anymore. We didn't have any of these problems. He said, what would you suggest? Bring Trump back as president of the United States, and you won't have any of these problems. He said, when Trump was there, these leaders, China, Russia, all of them, they were afraid of the United States. They feared the United States. They respected him. And I thought it was a nice statement, so I repeat it as often as I can, because I know one thing, the press is not going to repeat it. You know, you might as well repeat it yourself. This is a lesson. Repeat it yourself, because they're not going to be repeating it. I'm the only candidate, I think you know this, who can make a very important promise. So I think the world's in more danger than it's ever been because of the power of weaponry, and I will be the only one that can say this with great surety. I will prevent World War III. World War III. We're very close. I don't know if you feel it. I don't know, Madam Attorney General, if you feel it, but we're very close to World War III when you see these discussions taking place. You know, we had an axiom, never, ever talk nuclear, never mention the word nuclear. It was not a word that was mentioned because the power is so ridiculous, and we didn't mention it. Now, all the time, you're hearing nuclear from them. From them. You're hearing it from other countries. It was unacceptable. It was a word that you couldn't say. And all of a sudden, you're hearing that word all the time. And this wouldn't be a war like with army tanks running back and forth, shooting at each other, World War I, World War II. This would be obliteration. This would be the worst thing there's never been. This would be obliteration. You cannot use the word. You cannot discuss that word. But I rebuilt our military to a level that it's never been before. And that includes that, you know, our nuclear stockpile. I have no choice. I hated doing it, but it's all tippy-top. It's all really in the best of condition now. We had stuff that we had no idea if it even worked. It was 40 years old, and the wires to the phones didn't even work. Nothing worked. And everything's been rebuilt. We've done a great job, really an amazing job. And the only reason we had to do that is because China is building their heart out with nuclear, and Russia, as you know, has comparable to us. So it's a very dangerous position when you see the words that are being spewed. And I'm saying, and I'm watching his language and his body language, I'm saying he's saying the exact opposite of what should be said. We're very unsafe, and we have 11 months to go, you know. That's a long time. They can do a lot of damage in 11 months. Under the Trump administration, we had the most secure border in U.S. history by far. We built 561 miles of border wall and got Mexico to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge. That was much more than, as I said, we'll get Mexico to pay for a big portion of it. This is much more. We have 28,000. I had 28,000 soldiers free of charge. I said to them, you're going to have to give us 28,000 soldiers. We need that. They said, no, 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 we will not do that. I said, of course you will. They said, we will not do that. Why would we do a thing like that? And I said, you're going to have to do it. I'm sorry, but you're going to have to do it. And they said no. And then I said, here's what's going to happen. On Monday morning at 7 o'clock, we're going to impose a 25% tariff or tax on all of your goods, including the cars that you stole away from us in terms of manufacturing of cars. You know, they have 32% of our car production was taken away years ago by Mexico. 32%. But every car is going to have a 25% tax on it, and we're going to take in so much money. And then they turned around and they said, we would like to make a phone call to Mexico, please, sir. They came in the room 5 minutes later, and they said it would be our great honor to supply you with 28,000 soldiers. And we had 28,000 soldiers, and we had very few people. We had the best record. This is as we're building the wall. Then I was going to add another 200 miles to the wall that we had just completed, because all of a sudden you needed more, because it's like, you know, that's the way it works, right? They come, have to walk a little bit further out. We're going to add another 200. And then what happened is we had a rigged election, and Biden came in and he said, we don't want any walls. We want to have open borders. And nobody could believe it. And I, you know, when I heard that during the campaign, I figured maybe it's just words, but who could be so stupid? Who could be so horrible to our country? What they're doing to our country, they actually meant it, because they took all of the wall that I had ready to just be installed, could have been done in 3 weeks, and they took that wall and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. And it was all the exact stuff that Border Patrol wanted. We had wires in it for technology. We had concrete, rebar, and very hardened steel. That's exactly what, and they had to have openings to see. I was going to put up concrete plank, and it would have looked fine. But no, but think of it, it's so sad. And they actually sold a lot of it for 5 cents on the dollar. Now they'll end up building it at some point, because, you know, 2 things that work. Remember the old days with the campaigns? I said there's only 2 things that work, because your phone that you have and your computer that you have, in about 2 weeks it's obsolete. You have to buy a new one. The 2 things that work are wheels and walls, right? Wheels will always be there, and walls will always be there. They're the only 2 things that will never get obsolete. Now we have a border catastrophe like in, nobody's ever seen really anything like it. I mean, if you look today over the last, frankly, look over the last 3 years. But you look now, it's so bad. It's like nothing in the history of the world. Yesterday, we had a single highest day record of illegal border crossings ever recorded, 12,600, one day. We have no idea who any of them are. They come from Africa. They come from Asia. They come from South America, but not just South America. They're all over the world. They dump them on the border and they pour into our country, and nobody's there to check them. And the Border Patrol is incredible, by the way. They want to do it, but they're told not to do their job. It's crazy what's going on. They're ruining our country, and it's true. They're destroying the blood of our country. That's what they're doing. They're destroying our country. They don't like it when I said that, and I never read Mein Kampf. They said, oh, Hitler said that in a much different way. No, they're coming from all over the world, people all over the world. We have no idea. They could be healthy. They could be very unhealthy. They could bring in disease that's going to catch on in our country, but they do bring in crime. But they have them coming from all over the world, and they're destroying the blood of our country. They're destroying the fabric of our country. And we're going to have to get them out. We're going to have to get mass numbers of these, especially the criminals. They're coming from jails, prisons. They're coming from mental institutions. They say, please don't say the words insane asylum. But I have to say it. They're emptying out the insane asylums from all over the world. Why wouldn't they? I would do it. If I were running Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, Mexico, they're emptying out their prisons into our country. How stupid are we to allow this to happen? This week, the Biden administration closed 2 vital railway crossings so that border agents could be redirected to help process even more migrants. They were coming in. You saw the trains with thousands and thousands of people on top of them and in them. Thousands and thousands of people pouring into our country. And we actually allow them to come in. They process them. Where do you come from? Where were you? I was in a jail. Oh, okay, you can come in. Come on in. They let anybody in. And you have other people that study. You probably saw Melania this week, where she held a great, beautiful reception for people that came into our country legally. They studied, they worked, they had to take exams, they had to talk about our flag, and And George Washington and everything else. It was a beautiful day. But that's the way it's supposed, because we want people to come in, but they have to come in legally. But what's happening now is the whole system is being underrun. And no country can sustain this, by the way. You know, you have children going to school, they don't speak the language. You have children going to school speaking languages that nobody even knows what the language is. There are many languages in the world. They don't even know what the language is. And they're sitting in classrooms, and there's no room for our students in the classrooms, and they don't speak the language. On my first day back in the White House, I will terminate every open border policy of the Biden administration, stop the invasion on our southern border, and begin the largest domestic deportation operation in American history. We have no choice. No country can sustain this. We will restore law and order to our communities, and I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical, out-of-control prosecutor, of which we have many, in America. I have a guy named Deranged Jack Smith. He's a deranged person. He happens to be after me. You know, the great one is the boxes hoax. They have a boxes. Biden has been taking stuff out of the White House or taking out wherever he was. He was a senator. For 50 years, he's got tremendous amounts of stuff. He had it brought to Chinatown. What's that all about? And then after it was brought there, it was distributed to different places. Chinatown. And it leaked to CNN, of course, because they leak, the prosecutors leak, that he's not going to have any problem. But me, with a tiny amount, and I come under the Presidential Records Act, which gives me the absolute right to do it. With me, oh, I'm different. But mine was in a secure location. Everything was tippy-top. But, you know, with this guy, just think about it. They don't want to do anything. They're not going to do anything. It just came out. They released it. They leaked it. They leak it because they're dishonest. You're not supposed to leak that. They talk about classified documents, and they're leaking about classified documents. But he had many classified documents. Just think about it. And they leaked that he's going to be okay. He did nothing wrong. He did everything wrong. And he made it impossible for them. And he took things when he was a senator, which Dick Durbin is on television. He's a senator, Democrat. He's saying, oh, if he did that, that's a crime. That's a terrible thing. And he never came under the Presidential Records Act because he was vice president and he was a senator. But for him, it's okay. For me, and I have total protection. I'm allowed to do it. You know, the New York Times wrote an article, and I'm sure the writer got fired, but basically it said, please, 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 Mr. President, and that was the title, something like that. Please, 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 Mr. President, like James Brown. Did you ever hear please, please, please? Please, 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 Mr. President, may we have, they said the only right they have is to say, please, Mr. President, may we have them, because I'm entitled to them. And this was in the New York Times, big article, and yet they leak that Biden has no problem, but they continue because I have a deranged prosecutor. He's a deranged person. And the good news is people get it. That's why my poll numbers are so high, I believe. Because, you know, I would really have, I think we'd be winning by a lot. But now we're winning by numbers that nobody can believe. I think it's why our poll numbers, because they see this persecution that goes on in this two tiers of justice or injustice, and they don't like it. They don't want that. This is not what America is all about. So I appreciate everything, and I appreciate all the support we get, because that makes a big difference. When you have poll numbers where, where we're like literally 80 and 90 points higher in some cases, and some of these guys. We have guys running like from Arkansas. He's been at 0 for 7 months. Ada Hutchinson, I call him Ada. It's Asa. The only reason I corrected is he'll say, he didn't know his name. He didn't know his name. He must be cognitive, you know. Don't forget, I do most of this stuff without teleprompters. They do. Biden. No, if I say Ada Hutchinson, oh, they'll do it anyway. I just gave them an idea. Look, they're starting to write that. They'll say, he didn't know his name. No, it's Asa, but I call him Ada. But this guy he's the governor of Arkansas. He's got the personality of that floor tile. See the tile? There's a broken tile right there. That's about as much personality. And he's a nasty guy. He's got 0 for, how many months has he been running? Like a year? For a year he's been running. He's at 0. Chris Christie, who's got a serious case of Trump derangement syndrome. He's sick. Between him and Liz Cheney, does she have Trump derangement syndrome or what? No. And I let Scooter Libby out. You know, it's a friend of their family. They didn't do anything for him. I did. They didn't get him out. I got him out. I gave him a pardon because he was treated very unfairly. Scooter Libby, but he was a very good friend of the Cheney family. They didn't do anything for him. I did. But, you know, you'd think they'd be thankful for that, but they don't talk about that. They say I'm a threat to democracy. No, Joe Biden is a threat to democracy by all of the things that we talk about. But I'm also going to indemnify all police officers and law enforcement officials throughout the United States for being destroyed by the radical left for taking strong action on crime. These are people, they want to destroy them because they want to put criminals away. They're forced to do nothing. They cannot do anything when they want to. They do want to. They're the greatest people. The police, and I just met a lot of them in the backstage, they're all like incredible people. But, you know, they're under threat of losing their pension, their house, and their family, and losing everything if you touch these people. I mean, you let what's going on where the people are going into these stores and robbing them, and even the clerks, they fire clerks if they try and stop them. I mean, if I had a clerk that was willing to stop them, I would say, you are the greatest. You love our country, our company, our store. And they fire them. It's like crazy. There's something going on. Our brains are being fried. There's something going on. But our police know everything, and they can solve these crime problems very quickly, but they're not allowed to do it. And they don't want to lose their families. They don't want to lose their house and their pension. We're not going to let that happen anymore. So what I'm going to do is give indemnifications to any police officer that gets in trouble for pursuing a criminal, because that's what we have to do. In addition, we will take over our horribly run Washington, D.C., and clean up, renovate, and rebuild our capital so that it no longer is a nightmare of murder and crime. People are being murdered there every day. Murdered in our capital. Can you imagine when these people come from foreign countries and they may not be rich, but their capitals are safe. They have no crime. They take care of it fast. But can you imagine they come into this thing and they read that 3 people were murdered last night in Washington, D.C., and they have graffiti all over the place. On those beautiful marble columns, they have graffiti all over the place. Graffiti, graffiti, graffiti. The streets, they look like, I mean, I drove into Washington a few weeks ago for a court case. One of the many. I should get to know it very well. I can't get a fair trial on Washington. The whole thing is ridiculous. But for a court case, I'm driving over a road where it's almost all paper garbage. And, you know, you can see paper. I know paper. I know cans. When cans start to literally rot, when paper is rotting, it's been there for a long time. Nobody cleans up anything. The medians, the dividers, they're all broken and falling down. It looks like an absolute slum. And when foreign leaders come into Washington and they see that, I don't care how good you are as a president, they go back and they say, that country's got a lot of problems. We're going to clean it up. We're going to make it the most beautiful capital anywhere in the world. Our parks will be cleaned. All tents and graffiti will be removed. You have to see some of these beautiful parks that you remember 5 years ago. You'd go there. They were so beautiful and safe. But you take a look at some of these parks, you can't even see the grass. There are people all over the place living there with tents. Slum areas will be demolished and rebuilt to the highest level of architectural elegance. We're going to have to do that. I know it sounds rough, but we're going to have to do that. Washington, D.C. will become a symbol of beauty, security, freedom, and strength again. We have to have that. We can't let this happen. They've taken over the Capitol. In addition to our capital, we're going to rebuild our cities into beacons of hope and safety and beauty better than they've ever been before. I mean, you're not thinking too much about that in Iowa, but you know, you want to see your country be great. It will be the greatest investment ever made in them, and we're going to work closely with Democrat leaders. They're all run by Democrats, and they're all doing horribly. And all of these failing places, we're going to make sure that this rebuilding will be a lasting and very compassionate one. We're going to rebuild our cities, and we're going to strengthen up crime at a level like nobody can believe. You're going to be able to be safe again. Safety will be restored so that children can go outside with their mothers and fathers and play in the park without being beat up, molested, or shot. Students can walk to school in peace. They used to walk to school. Today, you need an armored vehicle to take them to school. Crime rates will plummet, and people will they're going to be really longing to move back into the city. You know, when I was young, my dream was to move into Manhattan. I wanted to build buildings in Manhattan. Oh, that was my dream. And today, people are leaving. You know, they're leaving. They're afraid to stay in the cities. Unlike DeSantis, will always protect Social Security and Medicare. He was against Social Security. He was willing to take Social Security and do numbers on it and slice and dice, but he also wanted to move the minimum age up to 70. That's a big move for people because you don't, listen, we have so much liquid gold under our feet. We don't have to do that stuff. We don't have to do that. Why should seniors be hurt with Medicare and Social Security? We're also going to fight to give you much better health care because Obamacare, as you know, is a catastrophe for American families. And as I say, even Elizabeth Warren, who often is referred to, as you know, as Pocahontas because of her great Indian heritage, but she even agrees that it needs to be fixed. It has to be fixed. It's too expensive for the people. And we're going to get it done. We almost had it done, but then John McCain voted it down. After campaigning for 10 years to kill it, John McCain voted it down. Too bad. That was too bad. Remember, thumbs down. That was not good. We're going to make it much less expensive for the people with much, much better health care. You're going to get that, and we deserve it. On day one, I will sign a new executive order to cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. And I will not give one penny to any school that has a vaccine mandate or a mask mandate. A mask mandate. And as I said before, something that's very popular, I can't believe I have to say it, but I might as well. I will keep men out of women's sports. Is that okay? You see the weightlifting records? They're being broken by hundreds of pounds. One stood for, I think, 18 years, over a quarter of an ounce. They're coming in, they're wiping it out like 158 pounds. So it's just so demeaning to women, the whole thing. I mean, women, great athletes, I mean, it's just so unfair. They're going to have records. They'll have, look, eventually that's got to happen. It's going to happen with me. But you're going to have like these records where the record will be here, but you'll have this blip for a period of 3 or 4 years. Beep. Like that. They're going to say, they'll look back at 100 years, they'll say, what the hell happened there? Who was that? That was one strong woman, wasn't it? I will fully uphold the Second Amendment. We will restore free speech, and I will secure our elections. Our goal will be one day voting with paper ballots and voter ID. Very simple. But until then, Republicans must win. We have to win. Once we get in, we'll change that, but we have to win. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States and added them up, they would not have done near the destruction to our country as Joe Biden and the Biden administration has done. To take the 10, remember I used to say 5, but you don't have to say 5. You could take the 10 worst presidents and they would not have done the damage that he's done. So if you want to save America from Crooked Joe, then get every patriot you know. Make sure they are registered Republicans, have to be registered Republicans, and get them out to vote in their local precinct caucuses at 7 p.m. on Monday. And I'm going to be here with you, by the way, January 15th. It's Martin Luther King holiday, so it's a Martin Luther King Day. I'm going to be here. I'm going to be probably in Des Moines or someplace. I'll be caucusing. We don't want to take any chances, right? So I could sit home. I didn't have to be. They said, sir, do you want to go there? You're in great shape. I said, no, thanks. I'm going because we have to make sure everybody gets out. And if I don't get out, that's no good, right? So we're going to make sure we get out. We're asking you to commit to caucus for us and bring as many people as you can to caucus at our campaign. Sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com, okay? And in conclusion, from Sioux City to Iowa City, from Fort Dodge to Cedar Rapids and Des Moines, to Davenport, to right here in Waterloo, we stand on the shoulders of generations of Iowa patriots who have tamed the wilderness, braved the elements, tilled the soil. You tilled that soil, I'll tell you, you're still tilling the soil, right? You're great people. Worked the fields, built the factories, and poured out their blood, sweat, and tears to make this country into the greatest nation in the history of the world. But now we are a nation in decline. We are a failing nation. We are a nation that has lost its confidence, its willpower, and its strength. We're a nation that has lost its way. But we are not going to allow this horror to continue. We're not going to allow it to continue. We can't let it continue. The biggest election we've ever had is coming up, 2024. You know, I used to say that with 2016. It's the biggest election. I meant it. But we had a big border problem. In fact, I fixed it so good that in 2020, we couldn't talk about the border. They'd say, sir, nobody cares about the border. I said, what do you mean? It's the biggest thing. You fixed it, sir. It was totally fixed. And then what happened is not even believable. This is the single biggest election in the history of our country. This is going to determine whether or not we even have a country left, because these people are destroying our country. 3 years ago, we were a great nation, and we will soon be a great nation again. It was hardworking patriots like you who built this country, and it is hardworking patriots like you who are going to save our country. We will fight for America like no one has ever fought before. 2024 is our final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media. We will evict Joe Biden from the White House, and we will finish the job once and for all. The great silent majority is rising like never before, and under our leadership, the forgotten men and women, the men and women of our country have been forgotten. They will be forgotten no longer. They weren't forgotten for 4 years. You know that better than anybody. Nobody's ever done better than we did during that 4-year period. We will love our country. We will take care of our country. We will pray to God for our strength and for our liberty. We will pray for God, and we will be with God. We are one movement, one people, one family, and one glorious nation under God. And together we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you very much, Iowa. God bless you. Get out and vote. Get out and caucus. Thank you all. Thank you, Front Row Joes. You follow me no matter where I go. We love you. Thank you very much. Thank you.